as the author and the writer's public page. An acquaintance agrees to this proposal, agreeing on 1,500 a week, but he will need to produce at least 10 high-quality sketches a week. John believes that the price is slightly lower than the market price, but due to this offer, he will be able to increase the audience on broadcasts. The guy gives the hero the contact of the author of the short stories. Now they will be able to communicate directly. The money will immediately come in advance. Batten grins at this dialogue. He thinks that the guy is rather taciturn. The main character begins to undress after all. It's time to wash, since he came to the shower. He decides to spend the next couple of days reading the novel, and then he will start making illustrations on streams. In the evening, the guy comes to the workshop. The short story turned out to be quite large, and the plot is also very confusing. John puts his phone on a tripod. Finally, he is ready to start illustrating. Recently, the number of views has been about 2,000. The numbers are stable, but there is no increase in growth. The guy has high hopes that people will come to this stream to read the novels. John writes a commentary on his broadcast that today he will pay attention to the illustrations for the novel. Advertising begins to work, and more people tune into the broadcast. The hero decides that the best option would be to entertain new viewers with something from the classics, so he begins to draw a dragon. People recognize the character, admire the speed of the guy's hands and the detail of his work. Viewers who are interested in the author who ordered the illustrations ask to draw something else and send gifts. John notes that the addition of imagination and hand speed gives a very good effect. He had never felt so confident in his strengths and skills. The main character again takes up the tools and with quick movements draws another character from the story. The man was depicted as a girl. Initially, it was not clear what his gender was, but at the end of the story, it became clear that he was a guy. Batten himself did not finish reading it, so he does not draw it entirely correctly. Despite this, he decides to move on to commissioned illustrations. The guy draws the main character and the girl next to them. The audience rejoices, because in general, this is what they came for. The last drawing on today's broadcast will be a minor character. John begins to paint. People watch his work with bated breath. Suddenly, he thinks about how fat people are always presented as funny side characters. The guy doesn't understand why fat people can't be brave in the eyes of others. The first stage of the Stream Master task is completed. Now John receives a bonus to his charm. Loaf looks at himself. He hasn't become any prettier. He doesn't know how to test his acquired skill. The hero decides that it is better not to scare the viewers of the broadcast with his face and voice. He thinks that only 1 point has been added to his charm, so perhaps it is quite insignificant and no one will be able to notice the changes. Suddenly a woman enters the workshop, shouting that it's time for her to close everything, and that it's long past 10 o'clock in the evening. The guy understands that it's already quite late. He didn't even notice that he was streaming for about 3 hours. John apologizes to the woman and says that he lost track of time and is already finishing up. Suddenly, she looks into his big, cute eyes, embarrassed by this. The woman smiles and asks him to take his time and do his job as long as necessary, while she solves the scan word puzzles. Batten is surprised by this practice, because there are legends about the harmfulness of this watchwoman, but suddenly she became just a darling. Apparently, the main character really has become many times more charming, since everything turned out this way. Feeling his power, he draws himself as the main character of the novel. John depicts himself in a battle suit, looking very majestic. The guy says goodbye to his viewers and asks to come tomorrow at the same time. On today's stream, the audience was twice as large as usual. At some point, the hero was at level 12th. We can already say that he took this order for a reason. Batten decides to go for a run and then return to the dorm to test his charm again. Heading towards the stadium, he notices Daniel with his girlfriend. Surrounded by tall and aggressive people, he was probably attacked again. The guy opposite looks arrogantly at John's friend, who is ready to defend himself. It turns out that if the main character influences the course of events, he will not be able to change the outcome. The girl shouts to the attacker that they broke up a long time ago, and he shouldn't care about who she goes on dates with. Sitting in the bushes, John thinks that his opponent didn't even have enough time to come alone, and he invited his friends with him. The tall guy tells the girl not to interfere with their showdown and step aside. The main character does not want to stand by and watch his friend being pressed. He does not know whether he has the right to stick his hands into the natural course of events. Daniel resists and tries to stop his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend named Inessa. Friends of the striker Jeff are trying to prove to the girl that their friend is many times better than her new partner. Suddenly the guy turns his gaze there and sees John holding his friends by the scruff of the neck. He asks to start quickly, because soon the guards will begin to patrol the territory. One of the guys is trying to get out of the defender's tenacious grip. Tired of resistance, the guy goes limp, not understanding why the main character is so strong. Plus, the power finally came in handy for him. John asks them to start the showdown, pulling the guys aside, saying that they will not interfere. He thinks that even if Daniel grabs it, at least it will be an equal fight. Seeing his friend, the guy is very happy and smiles widely. Jeff doesn't understand who Loaf is or where he came from. He continues to be indignant, saying that earlier his friends talked about their skills in martial arts. Smiling evilly, the main character asks the guys if they heard what happened in the same place a month ago. Some girl screamed loudly that something had been stolen from her. That thief didn't even have time to walk 10 meters before he was already nailed to the ground. In the end, it turned out that this guy stole time from the screaming girl. The guys have already heard the story. According to the stories, that man had broken ribs. John could smear them on the asphalt. The main character stands behind the offending guys and says that no one will envy that poor fellow. Jeff looks at everything that's happening and wonders in his head if the three of them can handle it. Colliding with their eyes, Batten winks at his friend. Using some telepathy skill, he tells him that now is the time to make the offender respect him. The guy smiles widely and joyfully and replies that he understands him. Without hesitation, Daniel approaches Jeff from behind, placing his hand on his shoulder. He says that he likes Inessa and therefore is ready to deal with this here and now. If the guy is ready to leave her behind, then they will go their separate ways. Otherwise, there will be bruises. Jeff looks at him fearfully as Daniel explains his point of view and intimidates him. Smiling, the main character asks why the offender is sweating so much, although they haven't started fighting yet. Apparently, he can't stand this situation anymore. Jeff looks at the guys with indignation. He doesn't like that everything didn't turn out the way he wanted. He yells at Daniel that he's not done with him yet. Unexpectedly, the offender takes off and quickly runs away in an unknown direction. John hugs the remaining accomplices. Apparently, they were left without a spectacle. One of them asks to let them go because it's already late. The hostel will close soon. The main character agrees with this and removes his hand from the guy's shoulder. As soon as this happens, both run away at enormous speed in different directions, as long as they are further away from this place. John feels satisfied because he just saved his friend. Suddenly, something distracts him. Inessa hugs Daniel and says that she agrees to accept his proposal to start a relationship. The guy is terribly jealous of them and wonders when he will stop being lonely like a stray dog. As has been proven, a hero can still influence the outcome of events. Suddenly, he realizes that he was planning to go for a run, so he quickly heads towards the stadium. John begins to exercise. He runs 5 kilometers in 38 minutes. In recent days, he has been running 1 kilometer in 7 minutes. This pace does not even tire him. He needs to speed up. The guy has only 3 kilometers left, and he can finally complete the second stage. Without paying attention to anything, John gives it his all and runs the remaining distance. He completes the second stage and receives 50 points and a bonus to speed. Rejoicing at this, the hero begins to dance. His body was already ready to accelerate, and here there is additional speed. He thinks that the day has turned out to be quite productive. Suddenly, a familiar voice is heard behind him. The main character immediately turns around to look at the man's face. Kathleen smiles sweetly and waves to her acquaintance, saying that they haven't seen each other for quite some time. John thinks about 87 hours have passed since their last meeting. The hero says that he wanted to apologize for the last time, but unfortunately, the girl has not been seen for a long time. Kathleen explains that her brother reacted quite strongly. Walking to her destination was quite awkward, but now all that is gone. Having learned that the guy was Kathleen's brother, John feels like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders and refuses that the girl he likes is still single. She explains that he came to invite her to the wedding of her 13th brother. The main character finds himself thinking that it sounds like he is the 13th to the throne. Kathleen says there are 18 older brothers and 13 younger brothers in her family. John is shocked by what he hears because in the end, this is 31 brothers in total. He decides to clarify why there are so many of them. The girl denies that the story is quite long, and her grandfather originally had 6 brothers. Each of them had 3 or 4 sons in the girl's father's generation. There were 20 brothers and not a single sister. For all 3 recent generations, Kathleen is the only girl among 31 brothers. The main character's jaw drops at what he hears. It sounds like some kind of prank. She decides to tell him one telling story from her childhood, when Kathleen was in elementary school. The boys came up with the idea of hanging cocklebur on the girls' heads. It's such a nasty plant with prickly cones. One of the guys put a whole bunch of these bumps on her head, and she had to pull the thorns out of her hair all day. After school, the brothers met this boy at the school. Each of them wanted to tear him apart. When the director tried to pull this boy out, Kathleen's uncles came, and the director locked himself in his office. This conflict was resolved only thanks to the director's party connections. John thinks that he has heard the story before. Apparently Kathleen was that girl. He wonders how it must be hard to date guys with so many brothers. The girl replies that this really is such because subsequently willy-nilly she compares guys with them. Sometimes it seems to her that she already knows everything about different types of men, and it is difficult to feel interest in anyone. The hero says that, being one guy among a bunch of sisters, the girl probably had a hard time. Kathleen assumes that they are talking about John and asks him to talk about his life. The guy sighs slowly and still decides to tell her about his sisters. The situation is similar. 4 older sisters and 3 younger ones. Among all the relatives, he is the only boy. When John was very little, their only interest was dressing him up as a girl. A little later, after 10 years, the interest subsided, so they began to feed him more and more. Someone said that love is intangible, but the hero has been carrying their love with him for many years. The guy pats his stomach. Kathleen smiles sweetly and says that there is no guy like him among her brothers. The main character becomes embarrassed and blushes, asking himself if the girl is flirting with him, suggesting that the reason is his charm. Having finished the warm-up, the girl begins her workout and says that she has to go. She wonders what is wrong with her today and why all this was said. John feels very energized and is ready to run even 500 kilometers. The guy starts running further. Kathleen wonders if her friend was running. He replies that he only ran 8 kilometers, but according to the plan, there were all 10. The girl looks warily at her friend and asks him if he is confident in his abilities. John has no doubts. He is progressing absolutely every day. After a few laps, the guy becomes hard and he asks Kathleen to continue training. A little later, he will catch up with her. Kathleen tells him to go rest. Otherwise, he will overtrain and won't want to get out of bed tomorrow. Stopping from fortunate fatigue, the guy sighs in frustration. The girl stops and says that a charity marathon will be held in a week, asking a friend if he is interested in this. Suddenly, a new task from the system appears in front of John. He needs to score 100 points of champion glory. This is already happening for the 3rd time. After her words, a new task appears. The main character assumes that Kathleen is somehow connected to his system. He asks if the girl is a non-playing character, and she, in turn, does not understand what he is talking about. Kathleen says that she is one of the people in charge of this mini-marathon, clarifying whether this is what the interlocutor meant. John's eyes light up and he asks the lady how he can sign up. The girl offers to send him a link, but the guy is not yet among her friends. She hands over her phone so that the hero scans her code. The situation repeats itself. Loaf stands frozen in surprise. Finally, he will have a social network of the girl he likes. The main character is incredibly happy about this development of events. He imagines them together. In the evening, John finally has the opportunity to fully familiarize himself with the task. Each time they have a different reward and structure. According to this system, the hero needs to win world competitions 20 times, which he is fortunately dissatisfied with. Batten decides not to pay attention to this task for now, since there is no strong need for it. There are already plenty of reasons for joy today, because his love added the guy as a friend. But, unfortunately, until she sent the link, John decided not to intrude and wait to look more on her page because thanks to this, you can get to know the person better. He suggests that there may even be photos of Kathleen on the social network. Having visited the page, the guy realizes that there is absolutely nothing on it except a marathon, but still decides to at least like it. Suddenly, a new task appears in front of John called the Crazy Liker. To complete it, you need to give 1,000,000 ratings on the internet. The main character does not understand who this Kathleen is, because the task immediately appeared after his like. Upon completion of the mission, the guy will receive a +5 to visibility, although he never suffered from this since he was always surrounded by sisters. This will be a good addition. And then he gained so much weight that it was impossible to be invisible, even with a strong desire. But this task gives a lot of points. If John completes it quickly, he will become the owner of a miracle camera. With such speed of hands, there will be no difficulties. The main character immediately begins to give rating after rating on one of the social networks. A little later, he notices that in 10 minutes he couldn't even get 600 likes. Even with the enormous speed of his hands, John will have to poke at the screen for at least 3 hours on streams this time is spent usefully. The guy needs to come up with something. In order to like on a social network, you must first open a post. You can give ratings on another network without any problems, so it would be more profitable to switch there. John starts liking all the posts he sees. The feed is incredibly interesting. He wants to read everything. In the end, it turns out even slower than it was before. The guy doesn't like today. Suddenly, his friend comes into the room. He stepped in dog poop right before he was about to kiss his lover. The main character is very interested in whether a thumbs up counts in real life. It was not said that likes count only on the internet. He tells his friend that stepping in poop is a sign of good luck and gives a thumbs up. The idea worked as it should. It works offline too. The guy says that his friend is incredibly handsome today and shows 2 likes. Noodles looks irritably at his neighbor and asks if he is all right in his head. Not paying attention to anything, the main character continues to show him fingers up. John continues to send estimates to complete his mission. He no longer needs to say anything, he can only show it. Suddenly, 2 more of their friends enter the room. They are interested in what they are doing. Not paying attention to anything, the guy continues to fulfill his mission. He is incredibly happy that he showed a like to 3 people and it counted as 3 ratings. Climbing onto his bed, he thinks that this is still not enough. Suddenly, a new idea comes into his head. He tells his friends that he has come up with a new dance for TikTok. One of them says that he has a bad feeling, but ignoring this, the guys continue to look at the guy. John lowers his head and then sharply raises his finger up. He dances and says that the guys are very good, cool, that he loves them. Continuing to give compliments, he asks if his friends see these thumbs up. The guys look at everything that is happening with stone faces, not understanding how it came to this. They disperse to different corners, showing with all their appearance that they didn't really like it. In just a minute, the main character gets 200 likes. Tomorrow he will go to some crowded place. The next day, the guy comes to the estate museum. There are a lot of people there. Everyone is looking in every direction. But the mainstream of people is standing in line for tickets. John should stand at the front of this line so that the largest number of people can see him. The main character is running away. Very soon people will see a lot of likes. He stands at the entrance, shows fingers up to all the people passing by him. The guy is very glad that he thought of this. Now he gets more than 20 likes at a time. From the outside it may look very stupid, but John is not even offended by comments addressed to him. After another couple of minutes, the main character completes the first stage, gaining visibility and additional points. If you continue in the same spirit, then very soon the guy will get his hands on the remaining 1,100 points. Suddenly, some kind of mating ball clings to his finger. He doesn't understand why he got it, because he's standing far from the bride. People rejoice, praise Baton, and tell him to go to the bride as soon as possible. Apparently, it's all about additional visibility. It is unknown whether the characteristic will bring more benefit or harm. Two young men congratulate him. The landowner's daughter chose John. They ask to go on stage with him. The guy assumes that he is called to go on stage with the actress. He is not particularly upset about this, because this place is the epicenter of attention. The audience encourages the spectacle and persuades John to go on stage. The guy looks admiringly at the crowd, surrounded by the landowner's daughter and the landowner's son. The main character thinks that soon he will like all the people around him. The men ask what the young man's name is. Since he's become part of a theatrical production, one must try not to lose face. John winks at the man and asks him to call him handsome. First he asks if he has already been married. The guy thinks that so that chatting according to the script will not bring him closer to completing the tasks, he needs to take the situation into his own hands. He says that he was fattened on homemade donuts. A bachelor could not stay in such great shape. People laugh loudly at this joke and enjoy the performance. The man also smiles and says that the gentleman is not without irony. He thinks that he is not standing in such heat, so that some fat man from the crowd will attract more attention to himself than the actors. He needs to drive him away as soon as possible. The man says that in this case, it is worth thanking the young gentleman for his participation, and seeing him off with applause, the daughter will have to throw the marriage ball again to find her betrothed. John smiles widely and asks in this case to allow him to perform a farewell dance. The audience asks him to start dancing as soon as possible. They are waiting for the performance. The main character is preparing for his dance. He must report that his daughter is someone. He says that the girl is the best, the most beautiful, simultaneously showing more and more fingers up. People laugh, calling the hero a clown. Some are happy about this performance. Others take a video and are going to post it on a social network. The guy gets 90,000 likes faster than he got the first 10,000. The system counts 1,000 likes. The scheme is incomparable. The man is about to drive the young man off the stage and thanks everyone for watching. He calls to his assistant standing to the side, indicating that John needs to be removed quickly. The main character resists in every possible way, saying that his dance is not finished yet. He wants to continue it. The man stands aside and thinks that there are a lot of crazy people walking down the street. The guy decides to ask the worker of this estate when the landowner's daughter will throw the marriage ball again. Without answering this question, the man kicks John aside and says that he should leave quickly. For dancing on stage, he gave out almost 200,000 likes. At this rate, in 5 or 6 passes, he will get his 1,000 points. The main character is thinking that the girl threw a ball at him with +1 visibility, and now he already has +2. If he gets on stage again, people won't be able to kick him out that easily.